guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a homeschooling mom / part-time work from home mom. I have a daughter who's 11 and just started 6th grade, and my son is 4, starting his pre-K year. All right, guys, today's video is actually going to be my updated curriculum picks part 1 for my son's pre-K curriculum this year. The reason that I'm doing an updated curriculum picks is because when I originally did them, I was only planning on doing a very informal preschool with him. No alphabet work, no phonics. And that has drastically changed since I released that video. And if you've been following along on my channel, you may know that we were doing some programs that we are no longer doing anymore. So this video I felt like was the easiest way for me to tell you everything that I'm doing because pretty much everything has changed. Now, part 1 is going to be covering phonics, what I'm using and how I'm using. Part 2 is going to include math, which is going to include numbers and shapes. It's going to include some colors, and it's also going to include logic. Then my third video is going to be all about emotional intelligence and mental health because I have quite a few resources in there that I will be using, and I feel like breaking it up into those 3 would just be easier. I was already going to be making an update video on like my mental health resources and the stuff I was incorporating for math. So just making this 3-part series to reflect what we are actually using for this year just seemed like the easiest fit. I'm going to be going through everything that I am doing to show you briefly, and then I'm going to flip the camera around, go through it in more detail and explain how I'm using it this year. So if you just want to see what I'm using, you can watch the first part. If you're interested in more of the details, then you can stick around for the ending because I feel like this video could get quite long. Okay, guys, so if you have been watching, you may have known that we were doing all about reading pre-reading, and that did not work out for my son. And if you're interested in why, I'll link below my video on my summer school recap where I talk all about that. But the program that I chose instead was A Gentle Feast, Letters and Sounds, Level 0. This program specifically teaches sounds and phonetic awareness by using many techniques that involve oral, auditory, and kinesthetic methods that really connect with my son. This program also comes with flashcards that you can laminate. And she has a little rhyme that goes with all of them. For example, C is coughing caterpillar, k, k, k. My son just loves those. She also includes with her program student pages. This has many different hands-on activities to do, whether they're rhyming activities, cut and paste, finding activities. She also includes forming letter activities in here, which I'll go into. She also includes in her curriculum recipes for every letter and read alouds for every letter. And this was an example of what we did for B. They're great literature that she has picked, so we've really enjoyed those. Now, Gentle Feast on its own is absolutely enough. I just really love to supplement. So what I'm doing is I'm supplementing with Purposeful Preschool by the Waldock Way. I already had this. Now you can buy their whole preschool program, I think for $40, and that would include letters, numbers, colors, shapes, and their pretend play pack. I'm not using their pretend play pack this year, maybe in future years, but if you just wanted to get their alphabet activities or their number and shape activities, you can get those separately. Because we use a lot of the forming activities and the finding activities in there. But there's so many activities in here. It's unbelievable. You have games, you have like just a wide array. So you could get this and be totally fine. I just really like to have different options to mix it up. And I'll show you the inside of this when I flip the camera around. Another thing that we're using to supplement the sound activity. So I kind of break it up into additional sound activities and additional forming the letter activities. So for these sound activities, I stumbled across Brain Quest Phonics Workbook. This activity has a 4-page spread for them to do additional activities on a letter. And I just use that for sound practice. It does have more stuff on rhyming and compound words, syllables, upper and lowercase letters. Some of these in this workbook I will be using later after we finish Gentle Feast. If I didn't mention, Gentle Feast will take us through the end of the year, and that's what I consider our part 1. And then I have things that we'll be doing after we finish Gentle Feast. So these are all part of my part 1 phonics for my son. Okay. Another thing that we are using is ABC Here Do. Now they have a separate book where it's called Uppercase Letters. And that just has flashcards for you to teach your children, and that would be wonderful, and I would have gotten that had I not already had flashcards from Gentle Feast, which I really do like. This is a curriculum that they created to go with it. They also have a curriculum to go with the lowercase letters, but you're supposed to do uppercase first. Now, I had gotten this and actually tried to return it, but Amazon let me keep it because I found that the curriculum for uppercase and lowercase were on Kindle Unlimited. The reason that I like this is for each letter, it has several different songs and games to do. And also it has tons of picture book suggestions and fun activities to do with that letter. We have been doing art in other places, which I will be talking about in my part 2 video. But I wanted some more crafty hands-on things, and this has so many different ideas. So if I don't find one I like on G, I'll just go look on the lowercase lesson plans on my Kindle Unlimited and look there. It also has a lot of different sound activities, so you could find an activity you liked here and then use it for future ones. So this is how I'm pulling that in. Another one that I got, these are all, or at least the next 2, for the activities portion is from McGinnis. She is a Teacher Pay Teacher store. I use this to work on the letters. So let me show you. Here's an example of what we did for letter A. So I'll say at is for apples and an apple tree. At is for alligators looking at me. So then he'll take whatever highlighter he wants. I'll let him pick a color, and then he'll highlight and I'll say the big at and little a. So he likes doing that. So that's another activity that we have in our rotation. So the next thing I got from McGinnis's Teacher Pay Teacher store is the alphabet coloring. Actually, I believe my mom got this for me, and I don't use it as intended. What I do is I use this the very first day that we're introducing a new sound, and I'll go duh, drum, duh, duck, duh, deer, duh, dolphin, duh, dice, duh, dog. I'll do them all. And then I'll have my son repeat that back to me. And then obviously I'll have him trace this with my finger. So that helps solidify over and over those beginning sounds. And if I feel like during the week that he's struggling, I'll bring this back in. So he could color this, but that's not the purpose of this. This purpose is to really help solidify those sounds for him. Okay, so now let's go into the forming activities. Now, Gentle Feast has several forming activities that she includes. She includes shapes that you use to put together to make letters, which I'll show you when I flip the camera. She also recommends sand, but there's another one that I found from the Moffat girls, which is these push pin skills. So what you do is you'll take one of these pages, and then I'll just put this underneath it and give my son a tack, and then he'll use it for his forming activity. I like this because I feel like this is fine motor skills, as well as a different forming activity. I do like to do a forming activity every day we work on a letter. Gentle Feast does 4 days of instruction per letter, and she does include a few forming, but I like to have one every day. We also do with Purposeful Preschool. She has pattern block templates that I use for forming. And she also has the dot marker templates for us to use. Also for forming exercises, ABC Do Here, this curriculum guide also has different activities and suggestions as well. So I do like to have as many activities and forming activities to rotate through, just so that my son doesn't get bored and it stays fun for him. Again, this is definitely not necessary. You could absolutely just do Gentle Feast letters and sounds level 0 and be fine. If I didn't mention before, this is recommended for ages 4.5 to 5, but of course you can start it at any time. This requires no prior knowledge of sound. So another thing I want to mention briefly is that the reason why All About Reading didn't work for us is because it's 2/3 of it is letter recognition, and my son is not ready for that developmentally. So that is why I've taken a different approach and him teaching him sounds first. And we have already gone through several letters, and that has been working really well. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about what I'm going to be doing when I'm finished with Gentle Feast, and then I'm going to turn the camera around and show you the inside of all of this and how I work it together. Okay, so after I finish Gentle Feast, which I think will be probably the end of this 2025 year, I'm going to start working on preschool literacy. This is by Jada. This is Jady Learning Resources. I'll link her YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys have heard about her. She's very popular. This is her Get Ready for Reading book. Now, the reason why I didn't incorporate this sooner is because she has, let me tell you, she has letter recognition, beginning letter sounds, middle letter sounds, ending letter sounds, letter blends, uppercase and lowercase matching, and alphabet order. This does not require much writing either, which I really do appreciate. Now, see, for example, here she does have a couple examples of activities you can do with a letter, but these would have been the only things that I could have done. There's a lot of other activities in here that he would need to know his sounds first. This also has some phonetic awareness activities, so I thought this would be a great thing for him to go over when he's all done. He does like worksheets, if you haven't noticed, but to give him some review on his sounds, to work more on his phonetic awareness, and break up that beginning, middle, and end sounds. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing at the beginning of 2026. I'm also seriously considering Delightful Reading Level 1 from Simply Charlotte Mason for a lot of the games they have. And on top of that, Moffat Girls has a lot of great phonetic awareness games and letter sound games that I can print and laminate to just kind of continue working with those sounds, because I feel like when I'm done with Gentle Feast, I'm just going to spend the rest of his pre-K year really trying to solidify those sounds. And when he's ready for letter recognition, then we'll just start slowly incorporating that. Okay, some other things that I'm going to be including with that part 2 when we're done with Gentle Feast is I have this ABC and 1, 2, 3 bingo game. I also have Go Fish Alphabet. I also have this Jump and Learn and Spot and Learn. These cover shapes, numbers, colors, and letters, so I'll be using them for all those categories. But this is a really fun way. Jump and Learn is obviously an active one. Spot and Learn is where he's going to find it on a card. So these are both fun. He enjoys both of these. I highly recommend them. They're a really fun review activity. So we will be working on those. And then lastly, I've got a puzzle where he's going to be matching. Let me show you an example. So he's going to match the picture with the lowercase and uppercase letters. So that's some of the things that we'll be doing, along with just having basic flashcards after he's learned his sounds with the rhymes. And I'll try to just go with flashcards and see if he can remember without the assistance of a rhyme. So one last thing I want to mention that I'm including before I flip around the camera is this head, shoulders, knee, and toes, and other action rhymes. So this is to help him with rhyming, obviously. So these are several different rhymes that we can go through. I'll work several days on the same one so that he really gets a hang of it and really starts hearing that rhyming more and more. So he's connecting that, because he does have a little bit of a disconnect with that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn around the camera and show you the inside of this and kind of how I'm using this. All right, guys, so let's start the flip throughs, and let's start with the main contender, A Gentle Feast. This is, again, letters and sounds, level 0. So this is going to start out going through all the parts of it. You have nursery rhymes at the beginning of every lesson. You have letter flashcards, which look like this, and on the back it'll tell you the rhyme. So for this one, you would go angry ants, ah, ah, ah. There's always a hand motion that goes along with it. And the creator has a video of that. And then you're going to have some handwriting, which is forming letters. And she talks about this here, phonetic awareness activities, read alouds for an example. Read aloud for B was blueberries for Sal. Great suggestions. And she also has recipes, which I don't have printed because we're probably not going to be doing them. And right here, I'm writing down lessons that we've done for phonetic awareness that we can continue to do again and again when I want to come back after we finish this and do some review. Okay, so let's look at C. So you're always going to have a nursery rhyme that you go through every single day. and she gives you instructions on how to do it. So I'm actually going to show you one that's clear. I just want to show you, these are the days and I add things. So you can see here, I only added a couple things. Here, I only added one thing because this was pretty complete on its own. So I just add a few things here because I like to have a forming activity and a sound activities, whether you're finding that sound, practicing that sound. Sometimes she has it in there, sometimes she doesn't. Some things I add regardless of what she has, but I always do everything included. So for G, see, you have 4 lessons. Here's your read aloud, Goldilocks, and your cooking is a ginger cake. So for lesson 25, you're going to read the rhyme to your child and you're going to point out the letter G. So here's the rhyme that you're going to read to your child, and you're going to, I always say, find the big G and the little G. And so I would have him find all those. Then the flashcard, show your child the flashcard, read the passage on the back and have them repeat it. So here for this one, you are going to read gurgling goat, G, G, G. And there's a hand motion for it. She has a video that goes over all of those with you. And by the end of the week, your son or daughter should know this. And I always go through every day all the flashcards that we've learned so far. Okay, and then here she has for handwriting, have your child make her an upper and lowercase g with the letter pieces and trace the letter starting at the top. So what she has for that is she has student pages, and I printed these both off on cardstock and put it at the beginning. So here's all the letters that she has, and here's a cardstock for them to do it. She has these letter pieces that you laminate, and you take it and you form the letters using all of these little shapes and pieces. So you first would have your child trace it and then make the letters. My son loves this and he'll do quite a few letters. So I'll let him make the letters for all of them that we've learned so far. He really likes it, and it's a really unique way to form letters. I just do this to store it so I can keep it in this book, and I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, so let's go back here. So now we have, so that was all you had this day. So what I like to add to that is I like to add the alphabet coloring page, which is from Crystal McGinnis's. So what I like to do, let's show you. Okay, so I'll go farm, frog, flower, fire truck, fruit. And then I'll go through all of those. And then after I've done that, I'll have him go through and do farm, frog. And he can color them too. But the main point of me doing this is to say the sound first and then the word, so he can start familiarizing himself with what beginning sounds are from that letter. Again, and then I always let him trace. So you could have them color this, but we just use this for sound work. So I always do this on the first day. So I would add that right there on my first day, just to give an introduction to the letter. Another thing that I like to do is, it may not be on the first day, but it's my poetry notebook. This is also by Crystal McGinnis on Teacher Pay Teachers. So I showed this before. So what I'll do is I'll go, here's big A and little a. I'll go, A is for apples in an apple tree. A is for alligators looking at me. Then I will have him take whatever highlighter color he wants and he'll highlight it throughout. And we'll go over it. And that also gives another activity to show the sound. Sometimes I'll do this on the second day, but I will always do those 2 activities no matter what. And they really take just minutes. So they don't take a lot of time. Then this day we would do read the rhyme to your child, see if your child can point out to the G, and then we would do the G flashcard and repeat all the others that we had learned. Then here you're going to play Go Rhyme Go on the next page. So here's an example of an activity that she has. So here you're going to use a game piece or a coin to start. You're going to say the word pairs below. If the word rhymes, your child can go forward 3 spaces. If they don't, they have to stay in place unless they can think of a word that does rhyme. If they can say a rhyme to either word, they can move forward 3 spaces. So that is a fun game. She has lots of stuff like that. Okay, and then also, so that's all she would have for that day. So what I would add is I would add a forming activity to this, and let me show you examples of those. So one of those would be Purposeful Preschool. I separated this, printed this, put a cover, and wrote letters A through J. I've broken it up so that it wasn't too big. So she has like an art activity that you can do. So here's the dot marker activity that you would do. You would just take dot markers like this, And you would use it for this. My son does like those type of activities. Then you have the pattern blocks. So she has those, and I just got this. It was about $10 on Amazon. He loves these pattern blocks. So that's another forming the letter activity. She also has popsicle sticks, but she only has it for lowercase. So that's another activity. And then this you could use for Play-Doh, which is what we use more often than not, but you could also put like pom-poms or other things in here if you wanted to. And she has that for uppercase and lower. Okay, those are some activities that we'll go through in a minute. Another activity that I mentioned is these push pens. So I would just take this, I would put this cork board underneath, I would give him some tacks, and I would let him go to town on this. And he loves this. This is great for fine motor skills. And it's just fun, you know, a tack is something they can't play with. So it's kind of like a treat for them. So in this ABC Do Here, I have the uppercase letter one curriculum activity guide. But as I mentioned, I also have a lowercase letter one. These are available on Kindle Unlimited. So I just go look on that upper and lowercase letters to see which one I want to use. But for example, you have different forming activities here that you can use for each letter. Some more forming activities that you can use. I like to bring this in for the craft because while we do have art in Blossom and Root early years, it's more artist study and an art project associated with that. This is more just like hands-on crafty stuff that he really likes. This also has different activities, and I'll go through this more, but so those are the forming activities that I have. Now on the next day, what you're going to do is she's going to have you read the rhyme again, use the flashcards, and then she's going to have you do a forming activity, and that's where you're going to use the sand in the tray. And that would be all you would do on that day. So that is why I like to add additional activities. So here I would add some activities. So here's some of the activity options I have. Let's keep going with Purposeful Preschool first, since that's what I have open. So you can find and color the alphabet. So here it's for G's, so he could find and color all those G's. Here's color the pictures that begins with the sound, and then she has like a little worksheet that he can do some of this stuff. Okay, so here's the last activity you have. This is hole punch. You would cut this out, and then you would use a hole punch, and your child would hole punch all of those letters. He does really like this activity. However, you could see that these could get pretty redundant pretty quickly, which is why I like to have a lot of variety. So I also got this Brain Quest Phonics workbook that I showed you. And let's just go to a letter. Hey guys, sorry, I had to move my camera. So here's an example of what you would do for M. So you trace the M with your finger. The monkey made a muddy mess. And then you would circle every footprint that had the M sound. Here you would circle them with M. And I always use the sound versus the name of the letter. And then here's another activity sound project and connecting the dots from A to M. So you would have already learned these letters so far. So it just has several of those types of activities. Here's L. This gives you an activity or an idea of the different activities here. So this just adds a little bit of fun. And honestly, this is the only thing with color out of everything there is. So I feel like it just adds a little bit. It also has syllables, rhyming, compound words at the end. And it has some flashcards. So we'll be going through some of those activities at the end. See, here's some syllable with clapping. And so, yeah, I really do like this. This was pretty inexpensive on Amazon. Okay, and then again, on this ABC Do Here curriculum, there's lots of activities. So let's look. Here's letter B. So it'll always have like a welcome song. You do the alphabet song. You'll use flashcards. You can buy their flashcards. So if you see on the back with this, you're supposed to have this uppercase letters. This is what has all the flashcards. Then it also references this coloring book for the uppercase letters. And then you have writing practice for the uppercase letters. There's this exact same thing with lowercase as well, but they want you to do uppercase first. So here's some work with that, and you talk about the animal. Here's a coloring page. Here's story time, and it has a list of books in the back. Here is some songs for you. Here's a game. There's a lot of activities, and then this back here is where I'm really interested. So here's the book, picture book suggestions. You got fiction and nonfiction, and then a lot of different activities. As you can see here, you have different activities that you could use for different letters. So I think that's really great. So if I find something, I can just keep it noted and use it in the future. And then you have the crafts. So here's letter F. Here's what it has, and here's additional activities. Like right here, you could easily do this with other ones as well. So as I mentioned, I had tried to return this because it is on Kindle Unlimited for free, so I can just go and look at all of this. But I really like just the variety that this gives me in keeping this fresh and fun for my son. So this is activity as well as forming activities as well as art. Okay, so now let's do the 4th day. So here you would read the rhyme to your child, you would do the flashcards, and then you would play the last sound game on the following pages. So we already did this one. So you're looking at this. So this game, read the sounds below to your child and see if they can say the words back. Then have your child identify the last sound in that word. The focus should be on the sound, not the name of the letter. For example, when you say cat, your child should respond with the sound, not the letter T. So this is some work that you're doing on identifying different sounds in a word. And then you go on to the next one. Here is H. And again, you have the 4 lessons. Let's see what kind of activity she has here. Play hop out sounds is an activity. So here's a game that you would do. You would read the word slowly to your children, have your child repeat the word, and then hop out each sound that they hear. And then the additional activity is follow me. Say the following instructions to your child. We shall play a little game. You may do what I tell you, but do not speak a word. Make sure to say the phonetic words slowly. So this is the game. And then let me show you inside of the student pages. So there's several different activities in here. Like here's an example. This was a rhyming one and he didn't quite get it. He got it towards the end, but I want to repeat it. So I just clip those back so that we can continue those. So here's a game for a letter hunt. Here's another game. I'm not quite sure what that is. That's a cut and paste, more cut and paste. So she has a lot of different variety in her activities. So as you can see, there really is enough with what she has, but I just really like to keep it interesting and fun for him. And so you could see that on some of these days, she would either have an activity, a forming activity, or a rhyming activity. Some days she would add a little bit more, but that is why I really like to supplement. And I would just write on here what I wanted to add. It literally took me just a couple minutes. I actually have something in my planner that helps me figure out what I have already done and what I haven't done. Let me show you that. Okay, guys, so here's my Loop 1 information. This will just give you an idea. This is Gentle Feast Day 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and then I write in here, this is the alphabet coloring that I do every day on the first one, and then more just means I pick. So here's the finding activities, and here's the forming activities. So I just write when I've used it for the alphabet, so when I go to schedule, like when I'm looking at this, I can go through, look at the activities we're doing, look at what we've done, and add it, just to make sure that I have variety and I'm not doing like the same thing every single day. Okay, so now before I get on to part 2, I want to show you really quickly this head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I bought this used for a couple dollars. So these have actions that you can do along with it. I really like that. So we go over these. We spend probably a week on the same rhyme. And I'll either do the read aloud from Gentle Feast that day, or I'll do the rhyme. I'll alternate them every single day. So we're reading the read aloud at least a few times, and we're reading this at least a few times. So I just like it. See, this is a used, but you know what? For $2, you can't beat it. So I feel like this is just really going to help him with all of his rhyming. Oops. And I'm sure there's so many other books, but I like this because this brings in the action portion of it with a lot of those. Okay, guys. So now when I finish Gentle Feast, which should be the end of 2025, I will be doing what is considered part 2. And part 2 is going to be where we're reviewing all of the sounds that we have learned. And I'll be assessing whether or not he's ready to learn letters. I may just start using the name of the letter as we're working on the sounds. I'm not quite sure how that will go. But the first thing that I will be doing is I will be incorporating Jada Learning Resources, this preschool literacy. Here's an example of something he would do to refresh his memory on the sound. And there's several different types of activities throughout. Here you're going to be working on the beginning sound. Here you're going to be working on the ending sound. You're going to be doing a rhyming activity down here. Here you're going to be connecting an uppercase and a lowercase. Again, here's more beginning letter sound work. Here's ending letter sound work. Here's a rhyming activity. Here's an ending activity. So you can see that you've got like a variety of different. Here's a middle sound activity. And actually you're using two together, gl. Here's another rhyming activity. So as you can see, there's just a lot of different activities in here. So I thought this would be a really great review for everything that we're doing, or for everything that he has learned so far. So we'll be working through this. Additionally, we'll be bringing in some rhyming games and other games from Moffat Girls that I will show you. But again, we're also going to do Jump and Spot Learn. Let me just show you a couple of these. Pretend to float like an astronaut in space. Open and close your mouth like an alligator's snapping jaws. Bounce up and down like a ball. Move your arms like a rowing boat. Pretend to drive a car, steering in all directions. Oops. Huff and puff out loud as if you're blowing out a candle. Waddle like a duck, making silly quacking noises. Pretend to play the drums and imitate the sound it makes. So those are just the type of activities that you're going to do. And then for this spot and learn activities, here you would do spot 5 things that begin with a. And then here is the letters and some sounds. So you could do a, astronaut, a, ant, a, alligator, a, apple. Again, spot 5 things that begin with that letter. And then you have the letters and some sounds on the other side. So this is a fun spotted activity that you could do. Also have these flashcards that we'll be using that I talked about. I also talked about Go Fish cards. I just got these from Amazon. My son loves Go Fish. And then we'll be doing ABC bingo. And this has uppercase and lowercase letters. So hopefully we'll be able to get some letter recognition in there. And then the last thing that I have is this bag of puzzle. So I showed this in the video, but you just match a picture to the uppercase and lowercase letter. So I'm also, as I mentioned, thinking about getting Delightful Reading 1 in addition to some of that stuff from the Teacher Pay Teacher stores. I know this is a lot, but I do have a method to my madness. So I feel like what we have been doing so far has really been working for him. Today, he did his flashcards completely on his own. He was able to identify things with the letter sound right away. It was the last day of the week, but as we've been progressively doing this, I feel like his confidence has built and we're not mixing it with letter recognition. So I really love it. Honestly, again, you could just do Gentle Feast. I just like to add more. My son does like School, but honestly, we spend maybe 10 minutes on this, if that, maybe 15 if he's doing an art project. And it really doesn't take that long and he enjoys it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know in the comments. If not, I'll see you in my next video.